Welcome to Links and Locks Action Network's golf betting podcast presented by Bet365. I'm your host, Andy Wack, and I'll be joined alongside Action Golf contributor Tony Sartori for these Best Bets episode. Tony and I will play 18 holes today, giving our 18 favorite picks for this week's tour event, the Travelers Championship. Before we dive into this week's episode, a reminder that the Links and Locks podcast is presented by Bet365. Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. That's why you get more boosts with them than with anyone else. Every day, they power up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. Bet365 boosts specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays, and they don't stop there. Keep an eye out for their biggest and best odds with the incredible Super Boost. Check out the boost and see why. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, and restrictions apply. Okay, Tony, we're on the first tee here for our Travelers Championship. Best bets, get us started.
Yeah, I'm gonna go after a guy I targeted last week as well, and that's Viktor Hovland at 22-1. Kind of a big swing and miss since he missed the cut last week, but I still think we're gonna see him in the winner's circle sooner rather than later. Pinehurst obviously kicked his ass a little bit on Thursday, but he rebounded really well on Friday with a 68, and that was actually one of the lowest rounds of the day. If those two results were switched, I'd be a little more concerned about Hovland this week. But anyone can have a bad round at Pinehurst, so I'm not worried about the missed cut. Just Thursday really got away from him. He had a nice performance on Friday. And right before that tournament, he finished 15th at the Memorial and 3rd at the PGA Championship. Two fields similar to what we will see this week. His iron play is really tremendous right now, and I think that's going to be the key to success at TPC River Highlands. Last season, each of the top 6 finishers here ranked in the top 22 among the field in strokes gained on the approach. That's the only stat or metric in which that dominating of a trend occurred. Hovland has arguably been a top 5 iron player on tour over the past month. Again, he still had the tough start to the year, and that's why I still think the numbers are a little long on him. But his game is turning around despite the missed cut last week, and like I said in the beginning, I just think we're going to see him win sooner rather than later.
Like that play a lot. I am going to go with another name in that tier of the odds board and roll the dice with Ludvig Aberg at 16-1 enhanced. I was highly encouraged by what I saw from Ludvig at the US Open. I know that he faltered over the weekend. He was the best player in this field from tee to green at Pinehurst on Thursday and Friday. I mean, he was essentially hitting every single fairway and every single green. He was in full robot mode. And the one thing that really slipped him up at Pinehurst was, when he finally started missing the occasional green, he got killed with the short game, right? And he made that big triple bogey on 13 on Saturday, which really felt like the turning point as it pertained to Ludvig in that tournament, where, his short game at a major championship venue like Pinehurst that is so difficult and demanding around the green just wasn't quite there yet. And obviously, that's not a concern that I have for him at TPC River Highlands, right? Like TPC River Highlands is more of a golf course where you can just turn your brain off and go. If you miss a green there, you're not really in much trouble. And Ludvig surprisingly has really played some incredible golf on shorter golf courses, which wouldn't make all the sense in the world when you think about like his greatest weapon being so long and straight and being such a great long iron player. But you look at these signature events this year that have been on shorter positional golf courses, often Pete Dye golf courses. Pebble Beach, he contended there and may have actually won the thing if it wasn't shortened to 54 holes. TPC Sawgrass at the Players, he contended there as a debutant. That's not an easy thing to do. And then Harbour Town, the week after almost winning the Masters, he contends at that tournament as well. So I think Ludvig has kind of shown us that he really likes these shorter positional Pete Dye courses. And I think he wins this week. I think it's time for him. So 16-1 Ludvig Aberg.
Love that. I always love when he's on the card. That's always a guy I would never be afraid to back. I'm gonna go one more guy who I also had last week again, and that's Tony Finau at 35-1. So I was just talking about elite iron play with Hovland. Finau ranks third on tour this season in strokes gained on the approach. He played brilliantly last week. Yeah, he fell short, and it was really frustrating too because he had a lot of birdie looks on Sunday, and just he needed a couple more drop. Obviously, you can say that about anyone, but he really had some good looks that he just missed on the greens. But again, I don't think that's gonna be a concern this week. It's gonna be so, like you said, it's gonna be so easy to score at TPC River Highlands, and I think Finau can absolutely thrive in kind of that birdie fest setting. He's also in great form. He's made the weekend in 8 consecutive tournaments, and he has 3 top 10 finishes over that stretch. He keeps knocking on the door of winning. Just finished third at the U.S. Open. He's got nearly a decade of experience playing at TPC River Highlands, and I think that's going to be a huge edge this week. He could really get it done. And it's just when you look at how well his irons have been, I just think 35-1 is too long of a number on a guy who's played at this course a dozen times and has finished inside the top 20 at this course nearly a dozen times.
Like that. I'm going to go stick us in the outright market with Patrick Cantlay at 25-1. I thought that was a great number on a player that really impressed me at Pinehurst. I mean, I had significant concerns about Patrick Cantlay heading into the US Open. He wasn't playing great golf. He typically doesn't play great golf on Bermuda golf courses, right? And man, he hung tough for 4 rounds. I mean, a very underrated subplot. I think everyone will remember the Rory Bryson duel. Cantlay had a ton of opportunities to win that golf tournament on Sunday. Like, he missed a bunch of shorter, high leverage putts on Sunday, but after he led the field in short game on round 1, I said, sustainability models aren't loving this one. I think Cantlay is going to kind of fade over the weekend. And he did the opposite, man. He was there till the very end, and he actually had his best ball striking performance in round 4. This was a complete performance from Cantlay that tested every single aspect of his game. All of those things were working for him at Pinehurst. And it wasn't that spike kind of fraudulent putting performance that I thought we were maybe going to get on Thursday. And now he travels to one of his favorite golf courses on tour, 7 top 25s and 9 appearances, a 4th last year. I'm buying. I think he's back. I think he's ready to go. And I think he gets off the schneid at TPC River Highlands, because for his talent level, he is long overdue for a win. So Patrick Cantlay 25-1 at the Travelers Championship.
This is our first similarity. A little different because I took him in the first round leader market, but I'm also on Cantlay this week at 33-1 to lead after Thursday. The thing you said that I totally agree with is how well rounded his game was last week. He gained true strokes in every category across the board. Like you said, he started with the short game, thought he was going to falter, then his iron play really picked up over the next 3 days. And again, I'm talking about that iron play, and that translates to success at TPC River Highlands. And like you said, he's great success here. He's finished inside the top 15 in each of his past 6 appearances at this tournament. So I think at a minimum, he's going to be in the conversation no matter what. He could win for sure. I trust him a little more on a Thursday than I do on a Sunday right now, personally. But like you said, that I was really impressed with how he performed at the U.S. Open last week. So I wanted him in my card in some capacity this week. So, and he was a co-leader after the first round last week at Pinehurst. If he can co-lead there after the first round, he can absolutely lead here after the first round.
Final outright for me to complete my card is Brian Harman at 45-1. He is the #1 player in course history at TPC River Highlands, even better than Cantlay over his last 24 rounds. I mean, he has 3 top 10 finishes in a row at TPC River Highlands. He does everything well here. He drives the ball in play. He's been a great iron player here. He's gotten super hot on the greens. I liked what he did at Pinehurst. I think that is, for obvious reasons, a much more difficult golf course for Brian Harman to get around on, playing over 7,500 yards. This golf course is 700 yards shorter, right? It's a far different cry and style of golf. A little bit more based in wedge play, a little bit more based on accuracy off the tee, a little bit more based in get hot on the greens. We've seen Harman succeed on these types of golf courses time and again. He almost won the Players on a short positional Pete Dye golf course. So Brian Harman, 45-1. We've seen him take down big events in the past. Is the final man on my outright card.
Love it. I'm going to take a guy on the outright market that's at the exact same number, and that's Russell Henley at 45-1. This is a guy I feel like we talk about almost every week on this podcast in some capacity. And it's making me think, or it begs the question rather, just how good is Henley? When you look at his performance this season, it's kind of hard to argue that he's not nearing one of the better golfers on tour. He's made the weekend in 13 of his 14 tournaments this season. He's got 5 top 10 finishes over that stretch. He just finished 7th last week at Pinehurst, and if he can score at Pinehurst, and obviously he can score this week, he's an incredible iron player who relies on his accurate ball striking to navigate courses, but his putter shined maybe more than anything last week. It got really hot. So if you're riding a hot putter into this week, and you pair that with his always very good iron play that we've seen this season, I think there's just a lot of ways that he can rack up birdies quickly here. And there really is nothing stopping him from winning then. I mean, other than competing with the top dogs on Sunday, but at 45-1, that's a juicy enough number where I think it's worth taking a shot, especially when you consider he finished 6th here in 2018. Yeah, that's a long time ago, but he is 5 times a better golfer right now than he was back then.
I like that one. I'm going to go into the top 10 market and roll with Xander Schauffele, -110 top 10. I know that's kind of a short number to lay on a player to finish in the top 10. But I grabbed that even before Rory withdrew. Gosh, Xander has just been an absolute top 10 machine this year. I mean, he has a higher top 10 rate than anybody on the PGA Tour outside of Scotty Scheffler. He is top 10 this season in 11 of 14 events. To me, that is well above the 50-50 proposition that I'm getting with him at -110, particularly on a golf course that he's obviously won at in the past. Like, this is a really good golf course for Xander Schauffele's skill set. I think once you talk about the elite players in the game right now, I think Xander might be the best putter. And you're going to have to get hot on the greens. He's been phenomenal on bent in the past. He's had a ton of great putting success on these greens specifically. And he gained over 6 on approach at Pinehurst last week. I think he's just kind of entered a phase right now where the floor is so high. He didn't even drive the ball well at Pinehurst at all, and he still kind of walked his way into the top 10. He talked about how he didn't feel like it was the best golf course for him. I was playing that well, and the guy still finishes top 10 at a major. I'd be pretty surprised if Xander isn't around the top of the leaderboard by Sunday afternoon at TPC River Highlands.
Absolutely. There's our second similarity. Again, I have him in the first round leader market, but I have Schauffele at 16-1 in that market. There's just a way for me to financially be tied to one of the best players in this field. He's, like you said, he's not finished outside the 8th place in 4 straight tournaments, and it didn't even feel like you just said, it did not even feel like he played that well at Pinehurst last week. He still snuck his way in there. There's just nothing not to like about this guy right now. He's one of the best ball strikers in the world. Like you talked about, his putter's been on fire all year, and he pounds the ball off the tee. He just won here in 2022, so it's not like he can't score on this course, right? And I don't like his number. At the time I wrote this is before the Rory withdrawal, but he was 8-1 outright, and I didn't love that number a lot, especially in a field where Scotty Scheffler is also in. But if you're giving me 16-1 in the first round leader market, that's where I will take my shot on him this week.
I'm going to go into the top 20 market and go with Keegan Bradley +130. I was very surprised that I'm getting plus odds on Keegan to finish top 20 in a 70-man field. I know he's a defending champion. I know defending champions can struggle at times. I just think this is like a perfect golf course for Keegan Bradley. He's a New England guy. He has a lot of support at this golf course generally. He drives the ball really well here. He's had some phenomenal success on the greens here as well. He had a pretty good performance at the US Open, finished in 32nd. And I just think that to get top 20 plus money on Keegan, who has been such a walking bucket at TPC River Highlands, I just know this is one of those weeks where he's going to show up, and I actually think he might be flying a little bit under the radar for having decent nothing special at Memorial and at Pinehurst. So Keegan Bradley plus 130 just feels like a nice, easy bankroll builder as a top 20 this week.
Absolutely. I have one more outright winner, and that is Corey Connors at 50-1. Clearly, my game plan in the outright market is targeting superior iron players this week, and that obviously is exactly who Corey Connors is. He ranks second on tour this season, strokes gained on the approach, only trailing Scotty Scheffler. He hasn't missed a cut all year, and he's in particularly great form. He just finished ninth at Pinehurst. Everything was working for Connors at Pinehurst. He gained true strokes in every category across the board. When you combine that with the fact he finished ninth here last year despite a pretty poor putting performance, then I think he's just a great candidate to back this week. So that is my last outright guy, is Corey Connors at 50-1.
I'm going to stick in the top 20 market and roll with Sepp Straka, who is also plus 130. Similar to Ludvig, the only thing that really tripped up Straka around the green at Pinehurst was around the greens. Like Straka lost almost 5 strokes around the greens. That's not a problem that I worry about happening at TPC River Highlands. He has played so well this season. 4 top 10 finishes already. He's got a couple top 10 finishes at signature events. He finished top 10 at the Heritage on another short positional Pete Dye golf course. He played well at TPC Sawgrass as well. He's got a win at the John Deere Classic, which is a very similar golf course to TPC River Highlands in its nature, both aesthetically, agronomically, and in terms of the required skill set. He's hitting the ball beautifully. I just think you play Sepp Straka on these types of short positional golf courses that emphasize accuracy off the tee and wedge play. He's just playing such great golf right now. I will gladly buy the dip on what people may have believed was a disappointing finish at Pinehurst. You dive into the numbers, it was really just the short game that killed him. He's still hitting the ball great. So Sepp Straka, top 20 plus 130.
That was a great transition because I'm going to go to the top 10 market. And you mentioned the John Deere Classic. I'm going to take the 2023 John Deere Classic winner, JT Poston, at 6-1. I just think his ceiling is high enough. I don't think he's going to win in this field, but I think his ceiling is high enough to where 6-1 is too long of a number to pass up for him to finish inside the top 10. He finished runner up here in 2022, so he can clearly compete at this venue. And Poston typically fares better at tournaments that feature a lot of birdies, hence that win at the John Deere. He boasts 4 top 10 finishes across 16 tournaments this season, so he can 6-1 is definitely a playable number on this guy. And we talked about how there's a short course, right? It's going to play at south of 6,900 yards this week. Poston's main issue is distance. That's really the only thing. Well, that's the main thing that holds him back, and that's nullified this week. So he's a good putter. I think he's going to be able to score here, just like he did last year here and at the John Deere in 2023. So Poston top 10 at 6-1 is where I'm going.
I love that one. I'm going to go back to the top 20 market for Adam Svensson, plus 200. This one's a little bit more of a long shot. I'm just a big Adam Svensson guy. I've been riding him all year. He is quietly developed into one of the better ball strikers on tour. Like we talked about the John Deere Classic already. Svensson has 3 top 25 finishes in 3 starts at the John Deere Classic. He's played well at TPC Sawgrass before. He's played well at the Wyndham before. He's played well on all of these shorter positional golf courses. Plus 200, I think he's one of the more talented players in the back end of this field. And this field gets pretty weak once you start getting into the, players 50 through 70. So I don't think at 2-1 odds, this is too much of an ask for Adam Svensson to have a pretty solid performance this week at TPC River Highlands.
Absolutely. I'm going to go back to the top 10 market one more time, and I'm going to go after Denny McCarthy, who's plus 550. I don't think he has the all-around game to take down this field at this tournament, but he's one of the highest floor players that you can take because you know that no matter how much his game may struggle overall, the putter's always going to be there for him. He ranks second on tour in strokes gained putting this season, although I would argue I wouldn't take anyone else on the greens on tour above McCarthy. Subsequently, he's made the weekend in 9 of his past 10 tournaments and boasts 2 top 10 finishes over that span. So he's got the all-around skill set to do it, even though he mainly relies on the putter. His biggest weakness, like Poston, is distance. But again, that's nullified at a course like TPC River Highlands, where we're not even reaching 6,900 yards. Therefore, it's not surprising that he finished 7th here last season. It's a course that fits his game really well. And so he did it last season at plus 550. I'll bet on him to do it again this season to finish inside the top 10.
I'm going to take us to the first round leader market for my final two plays and roll with Collin Morikawa 20-1 first round leader. I just think he's getting a little slept on this week. I know the course history at TPC River Highlands hasn't been great. I'm not going to hold that too much against him based on his course fit. It is a golf course that he should play very well at. He has played very well at these types of golf courses, shorter positional Pete Dye golf courses that test a short iron play. He's putting a lot better. Like he gained strokes in all four major categories at Pinehurst. He kind of quietly finished top 15 at Pinehurst and, shot the round of the day on Saturday. And we are just, talking about him, how he contended, almost won the Memorial. He's finished top 15 at every single major this year. And I think a large part in that is that the short game and the putting has been largely improved. Obviously, you can rely on the accuracy of his driver. And then as well, like, I went back and filtered through round one leaders over the last 2 years in no cut events. Collin Morikawa number one. So he likes to get off to a hot start in these no cut smaller field signature events. I think it's a really good spot for him and somehow flying a little bit under the radar this week, maybe because of the lack of great course history. I think that will change this week.
Yeah, I could absolutely see that. He's been playing tremendously. My final first round leader play is Sahith Theegala at 35-1. He's just such a promising young tour player, but he has yet to win against a field of this magnitude. So I don't really want to bet him in the outright market. His wins against fields of this magnitude, I think, are coming down the line when he gains more experience. But for right now, I like his talent enough to bet him in the first round leader market. He's made the weekend in 14 of his 17 tournaments this season. He has 8 top 20 finishes. He also finished runner up here in 2022, so it's not like he can't score here. If I remember correctly, too, he had a really good shot at winning, but his ball plugged in a bunker on either 17 or 18 that he had to try to fish out of there, and he stayed in. I digress. Either way, he was also the solo leader after the first round at the Century this season, and I like that a lot for this week because he's playing against a relatively similar field at that event. Granted, it was smaller there, but relatively similar field in terms of strength. And that's also a course or a tournament that's contested on a course where the scoring is super low, right? And so he was solo leader there. If he can do that there against this of that field, I think he can do it here against this field at 35-1.
I'll make it short and sweet. That is literally my final play. Sahith Theegala 35-1 first round leader. I don't have much to add. I just really like the way that he rebounded at the US Open after a tough round one. I think a lot of us declared him dead. And he played some of the best golf over the last couple of days. He's contended at TPC River Highlands in the past. He's had a lot of success on shorter positional golf courses, Pete Dye golf courses. Again, great at the Players this year, great at the Heritage this year. I think those are two very worthy indicators of what you kind of have to do at TPC River Highlands in terms of Pete Dye golf courses and signature events. So I'm totally with you on the Sahith train this week, 35-1 first round leader. That'll do it for our best episode for the Travelers Championship. Before we get out of here, final reminder that the Links and Locks podcast is presented by Bet365. As a reminder, this podcast is presented by North Carolina Sportsbook, newest sportsbook, Bet365. Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. That's why you get more boosts with them than with anyone else. Every day they power up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. Bet365 boosts specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays, and they don't stop there. Keep an eye out for their biggest and best odds with the incredible Super Boost. Check out the boost and see why. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, and restrictions apply. As a reminder, our action experts Spencer Aguiar and Nick Bretwish return with host Roberto Arguello tomorrow for our Travelers Championship betting preview right here on the Links and Locks podcast. So for Tony Sartori, I'm your host, Andy Lack, and we will see you back here next week on the Links and Locks podcast.